Greetings, survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with your pre-chewed roundup of this week's update and, of course, patch, because it was the first Thursday of the month. So, what new playthings and features do we have? Well, as you can see, after a slight delay, the big oil rig has finally been installed and will appear on most good maps in your area. Nearly twice the size of his son, this one has more layers, more nooks and crannies, and the loot here will be guarded by thousands rather than mere hundreds of scientists. No, really, I'm sure it'll be a piece of cake for you. Talking of scientists, the regular non-thick boys in blue and green have received a new old set of threads to bring their looks more in line with their heavily armoured brethren. You'll notice the peacekeepers have a distinctly shaped visor too, and apparently there'll be other changes in the future to differentiate them, but we'll have to wait and see what they are. Because obviously the scientists are at a disadvantage though, and need buffing against the hordes of heavily armed solo players swarming these monuments. There's a new boom tube in town. You won't find any of the thick scientists brandishing them yet, but they will occasionally drop them along with ammo, so that's nice. The MGL is a 6-round launcher with fractional reloading, and it's also joined by 3 new types of ammo: smoke, high explosive, and buckshot, with the latter being only available at the bandit camp in the food market for some reason, probably because there wasn't room in the others, and the whole ensemble being non-craftable. I've already spoken about a lot of what's in this patch in my last 2 or 3 update vids, but it's also worth mentioning that we now have the new debris system for when building blocks are destroyed and that prevents them from being replaced for 30 seconds. There's a new knife in town. It's a workbench level 1 item, 2.5 times better than the bone equivalent, and the very best tool for collecting bacon with. It'll also at some point help you untie underwater crates faster when that gets implemented, but in the meantime, with this update, that's a faster operation anyway. If you've been paying attention, you should already know all about fractional reloading, which is now implemented on the Bolt, Pump, Spaz and MGL, and the compound had a full lighting overhaul, which not only makes it look super homely, but is also visible further away at night as a result. There were more quality of life tweaks in this update than you can shake a piece of burnt wolf meat at, with backpacks now floating, handy thanks to the oil rigs being a bit of an accident hotspot, minicopter collision being a lot more accurate, their fuel storage only being accessible by the pilot, with free look whilst he's seated or when he's not and the engine is off, and minicopter hoarding being harder due to them now decaying at half the usual rate when kept indoors instead of not at all. I know you were probably told not to run with scissors at some point in your life, but chainsaws are obviously not included, as you can sprint plus attack with them now, just in case you come across some trees with legs, I'd imagine. This also applies to the new knife. SAM sights now require 25 electricity to function, which, although a slight nerf if you look at it one way, is actually a blessing when you look at it from the other, as they can now be turned on and off remotely, and random people authorizing on them is not an issue. In other changes, as I've mentioned before, you can put water jugs in fridges now, tuna and bean cans can finally be recycled, and the salvaged axe harvests a lot more animal flesh. Muzzle brakes now work as intended, flashlight and laser effects had a pass and are now much more attractive. Tracers have been tightened up and it's a lot easier to see where they're going in first person. FOV when ADS had been all messed up for a while but should be fixed now. In the process, it was discovered that the 8 times scope was actually magnifying things by 24 times, and the 4 times was magnifying to 8 times. In a nutshell, the 4 times is now called an 8 times and the 8 times is now a 16 times, which makes total sense, and you should probably read Helk's write-up about it in the dev blog because I can't be bothered to explain it all here. The FOV range has now been adjusted to be between 70 and 90 instead of 65 and 85. Oh, and the Thompson can be skinned now and takes flash and laser lights. Regular watchers will know that silent raiding was nerfed thanks to explosive ammo causing weapons and attachments to lose durability faster and being audible from much farther away. Hot air balloon camping was nerfed too. You can't see out of them now or use weapons whilst inside. If you go to sleep, disconnect or go into a wounded state in mid-air, the server will now take over and you will plummet to the ground, taking appropriate fall damage. So apologies to any of you who enjoyed doing that. Shelf stacking should be a thing of the past. I don't mean the job, we still need that. Face Puncher working with EAC, with the groundwork being laid for automated temporary bans in the future, and there were a ton of minor exploit fixes, which you'll excuse me if I don't go into detail on here, but that are all mentioned on the change list at the bottom of the dev blog. It wasn't all nerfs. The compound bow now acts just like a normal hunting bow when not charged and is 50 francs cheaper, plus the heavy plate armor has much higher explosive protection and a larger slot to peep out of. In performance now, which is, after all, the most important feature of all. A lot of optimizations were made around gunfire in this patch, with muzzle flashes being one of the biggest culprits, it seems. They were causing a large impact when it came to lighting especially, and this shouldn't now be a problem. Also, player models were involved in this, and efforts have been made to fix the issue. Projectile trajectory verification, try saying that fast, was another area of concern. Water should have much less of an impact now, with buoyancy code running 35% faster on servers in particular. Lighting saw a number of improvements globally. Object pooling had a lot of work done on it, which should result in less stuttering. And of course, Super Potato Mode is available to all now, regardless of what vegetable you're playing on. So enjoy. Right, you're up to date. Go forth and grumble. Please leave me a comment and let me know how performance is for you now, plus what you thought of all of these changes. Like, subscribe, join me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group, and I shall catch you all soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio!